But so somebody actually texted me, and I have to answer it still on the comments on one of my videos when I was talking about minifigs and how important was minifigs to me when I was growing up. So these guys showed up in 1974. Right now, again, I don't remember that they specifically came out in '74. I just got Lego sets from my earliest memories when I was 4 or 5, and that'd be 1971. So a lot of basic sets, but I do remember getting these guys in sets. So obviously, in 1974, I was 7. So I started getting these guys, and then in my head, in the same era, we got these guys. So again, when I was a kid, I didn't differentiate the time difference between getting the big guys and the small guys without moving arms and legs, right? But we got those guys, and those guys came out in like 1975. If I remember correctly, the earliest one was 1975. Maybe there was 1974. I can look it up, but I just, computer's right there. And but these guys for me came first, but very, very closely followed by those guys. So the minifig itself coming out in 1978. So I already had 4 years of these guys, which I didn't care about. And I had 4 years of those guys, which I did care about because I really like those guys, the old no arms, no legs. Because then you have people in your layout and you can build to that scale. And so, yeah, Sandy, Terry, my sister, Terry and I, we used to build buildings and cars and whatever to hold those guys. And we'd had adventures with them, and it was fun, and it was charming, and whatever. We had a good time with that. So when the minifig itself came out in 1978, we had already had a history of no moving arms and legs minifigs. So the minifig wasn't a radical change; it was a change to the minifig that we already had. And so on that specific note, the minifig is so much superior, quote unquote. Absolutely, like there's night and day compared to the original no arms, no legs, no moving arms, no moving legs minifig. But we already had those guys, and since I was 7 when they first showed up, I don't remember my youth before them, and that's the issue for me. So minifigs, in my head, have been around since my appreciation, because when from 4 to, because I was playing with Lego when I was 4. My earliest memories is playing with Lego, but 4 to 7 is not a huge time when you're looking at the nuance, at the oh, this is a fantastic piece and I've never seen it before. It's just I kept on getting Lego sets for my birthday, my Christmas, my sister getting Christmas and birthday Lego, my brother getting Christmas and birthday Lego, my older cousins giving us their Lego because they're too old for it. So that's at 7, and so we had a huge bin of Lego and we played with it. so the minifig impact on me, like, it was always there, quote unquote, as far as my memory cares about. I was never like, ooh, look at the minifig, it just showed up, and I was like, my mind's blown, because I will say, as I got older, and Lego radically what I consider to be a radical change of anything from previous sets. And so the example is 1977. I had the translucent white axles and the tires with the hubs in it, and the original red bushings. But I had 1 or 2 sets, and it was, oh, this is interesting. I have wheels that I can take apart without having that little metal axle to step on all the time. So that wasn't a radical change for me, having those pre-Technic parts. Even the gears from the early 70s. They're cute. We used them as tables in restaurants, whatever we're building. And the chain links as the tractor that I showed you that I have up there. Cute, but it wasn't, boom, oh, this is like such a radical change, because the vehicles, I already had the steam shovels and all that stuff, and so there's something with treads on it. Yeah, it's fun, absolutely fun, but it wasn't mind blowing. Like, again, I love the chain links. I mentioned that numerous times. The chain links are just awesome, but it wasn't a radical change. Even the set, it looked like all the previous sets, except they released it with milky white axles and original red bushings and the 2x4 Technic brick, right? So it wasn't, boom. The 1977 851 to 857 or 858, whatever it is. the supercar, which I didn't get back then, the 854, which I did get back then, the bulldozer, the helicopter, the forklift, which to this day is me, the tractor, beautiful, the motorcycle. That was a radical change for me because I'm already 10 now, and I have a cognizance of a complete different way of building Lego now, which wasn't there before. The Technic line, the expert builder line, but we'll call it Technic because we know what we're talking about. The Technic line that came out in 77, a radical change. And it was so radical to this day, because I remember getting the 854, that I remember the black, because this is what also happened, not just the Technic bricks, but the regular bricks, because that was the first time in my entire collection that I got a 1x3 brick. I remember that. It's a 1x3, and my mind was blown. Because it was 1x1, 1x2, 1x4, 1x6, 1x8. Period. That's it. Some had stickers on them, some had hotel on them, whatever else. Legoland on the 1x4s. The headlight bricks, as I said. The 1x3, I'm going, holy moly, that's boom. My mind's blown. Absolutely. I remember that. And then the Technic bricks on top of that, the 1x2, the 1x4, 1x8, 1x16 Technic bricks. The gears. I spent so much time rebuilding the 854 into whatever I wanted that those parts got worn out because and things would move, and it's like, oh my goodness. And then a little while later, mom and dad bought me that expansion pack with the yellow Technic beams and more gears and the yellow plates and whatever accessory kit that was. We talked about it before, and that just again doubled the amount of Technic beams I had. And the more gears I had, is the first time I got a 1x12 or a 12L axle. So that it was radical change for me. The next year, the Minifig came out. But we already had the non-Minifig, and we already had the big guys. So the Minifig itself, I got 600 since the police car. And the police car looked like every set in that, not scale, but the style with the 2x2 trans clear slope brick on it, and the plates and stuff. That the car itself was cute, absolutely cute, and then you get the little tires, absolutely cute. It was I want to say it's the first time I got the 2x2 tires plate, not the 2x2 brick with tire, but the 2x2 plate with tire. I think that was the 600 and the 604. We got them at the same time. So that was cute, and that was a bit of a change, but not a huge mind-blowing like the year before with the Technic. I guess the Technic was like, wow. And it wasn't until Classic Space, the next purchase that I got the 918, that, oh, it's a spaceship with a minifig in it. So, and I've already been watching Star Trek since my earliest memories. We were watching Space 1999, right? Because that was on pretty much reruns, because I think it was already canceled by 1978. And BSG was starting. BSG was starting on the telly. BSG was on for a season before Buck Rogers then was also, again, faulty recollection, but I think 78. BSG started on the network. It might have been 1979 because there was Galactica 80, but I think, if I recall, BSG was starting the same year I got the 918. And then Buck Rogers on a year later. So 2 science fiction shows on at the same time. And Space 1990 was already canceled. And Star Trek, we were watching reruns, and I saw every episode 1,000 times already. So the wild thing for me, it wasn't the minifig in 1978. It was Classic Space in 1978, and I loved it. No, the minifigs was an enhancement to what we already have. Absolutely. It's a huge enhancement. It was a huge improvement, but it wasn't the massively mind-blowing difference that Technic offered how to build Lego, a wildly different way of building Lego than everything that came before it. And I don't think that was superseded for the longest time until the RCX. It really wasn't. Everything was incremental changes from 1978, incremental. Because again, you look at the 1978 space sets and just go 6 years later, even before Futuron came out, and you look at a space set from 1978 to a space set from 1985, radically different. A lot of new pieces, a lot of new modified parts, a lot of modified plates, a lot of modified The one thing that sort of impressed me was the 2x2, what you guys call a 2x2, but what I call a 1x2, with the L brick or the L plate, and the jumper plate. Fantastic stuff. But of course, the jumper plate was already there in 1978. So incremental change. Some bigger than others. But from 1978 to the RCX, it was all incremental changes, and there was nothing in there during that time that leapt out at me as a radical change of how I thought about Lego until the RCX. So for me, my earliest memories is all kind of nebulous and hazy, and bricks just, again, incremental changes to boom, 1977 Technic. Massive change. 1978 was also a significant change for my appreciation, but the change was not in the minifig itself. It was what the minifigs were doing in like the classic space and the town and the castle. And I wasn't in the castle and I wasn't in the town too much, but I got a lot of sets. It was a classic space. But that was a personal thing, not a radical change of how Lego did things. It just, they made more and more different parts. And then the RCX, massive change for me, a radical, life-altering for me. Life-altering, if I can use that term, kind of phrase. And again, after the RCX, incremental. Like going from the RCX to the NXT, absolutely 100% better the NXT than the RCX, besides the faults that it had. But then the RCX had faults too. The communication, the sensors and the motors built in together, blah, blah. It was like going from, but then again, I was already in computer science, and going from AT to an XC to an AT, fundamental change to an x86 to the 286 to the 386 to the 486 to the Pentium to the Pentium 2 to blah blah right. And again, I used to build all these as they were improved upon, and removing cards and adding cards, taking out motherboards and adding motherboards, taking out power supplies, adding power supplies, going from the very first machine I built in computers for, I think I built it for my brother, 2 floppy drives. And those big, huge cabinets, a clone, but it was an IBM PC-ish. And then the 2 floppy drives, one with the OS, DOS 3.3, my first computer I built. And the other one was WordPerfect, whatever version it was. And then all those other Hercules graphic card. So that's going to take you back for if you're my Hercules monochrome video card. Not even VGA, not even EGA, 16-bit color. No, it is Hercules monochrome, which could mimic EGA to 16 colors by gray tones. And of course, the monitor itself was the orange on black. But that's the PC I built, the first PC I built, because I didn't care about the PC because I had a real computer called Commodore 64. So I was still laughing at the PCs at that time, because look what I'm doing in my 64. I've been using GEOS for 3, 4, 10 years now before you guys come up with a PC with WordPerfect. Are you kidding me? I was already publishing desktop. I was doing desktop publishing on my 64, and you guys are trying to type in WordPerfect and have to put in a separate floppy disk for spell check. The 64 ruled for the longest time. 1980 for me, 1983 to almost to college. Like it was like, anyway, whole other topic. But all those were incremental changes. There was never a wild, oh my goodness, this PC puts every former iteration to complete shame. They're all Edsels compared to it. Like you get a Windows 10 or a Windows 11 machine now compared to Windows 98. Yeah, there's a radical difference. But between Windows 11 and Windows 98, there's 17 iterations of hardware and software, and everyone was an incremental improvement. The multi-bus, the multi-processors, absolutely fantastic. Keep going with it. And so, like, StarCraft was a game changer for me. EverQuest was a game changer for me. But it wasn't enough to keep my interest going 25 years later. It's not. Whereas this stuff on my desk right now, it's older than all my video games combined. Well, not combined, but obviously 1974, 1975, when I was 10 or 8 in 1975. versus however old I'm in 1998, when all these video games are coming out that I was playing a lot. And that this still captures my attention, not fully because I have many hobbies, but my Lego hobby is, if we were to rank them, easily number one. I have other hobbies too. I'm going to be out in the wood shop when the spring shows up, clean up the garage and do some wood shop. I'm going to do some renos in the house. That's the idea anyway. Which I love to do. So to me, it's a hobby. And yeah, so my woodworking and puttering around, putzing around and whatever, hiking, camping, blah, blah, blah. This is my number one hobby. And it has been since I was 4 years old. There hasn't been a time when this wasn't my number one hobby. Even when I was hardcore gaming, as I say, I wasn't focused on this stuff, but I was doing shows. Can't go wrong with doing shows. So it's never like this. It's never been 10 steps away when I'm doing something else. It's been 1 step away from me doing something else. And as I say, this has more fundamental leaps of fantasticness, awesomeness in my when I call it my career with Lego versus my career with everything else. This has leapt in 1977 to the stratosphere with the Technic line. Absolutely. It was like, oh my goodness, how did they, and the fact that it was retro working with everything that came before it, which is, you can't say it in computers. Usually when they come out the new one, everything else is obsolete. So these parts here will work with any parts that I bought off the store shelf today. So that's the other thing that I love about Lego, is that my friends in the Mechanos, they got discontinued, and where do you get parts and pieces and blah, blah, blah. I can go to the store right now and replenish my supply of whatever I want. Now, again, you're not getting this guy now, today, in the store, but that doesn't matter. There's a gabillion parts out there that you can get. And so, but as I say, the radical changes for me, 1977 and 1998, for me, are the leaps into the stratosphere of the Lego company, and everything in between those years, incremental and good incremental, straight up good incremental. There was a downward trend in the 90s, but we've talked about that before. There was a downward trend in the 90s, but then again, the comparison would be Windows Vista. Windows Vista. There's a downward trend for a minute, and then poof, goes back up. The 90s, because the 2000s, a lot of fun. In 98, I said the RX came out, and then the NXT, and then the EV3, and they've discontinued their Mindstorms, but they're still doing FLLs. They're doing all this stuff. I'm eager with anticipation to see what they're going to come with next.